Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Tome Travelers, a science fiction fantasy book club podcast. It is a new month, so we're reading a new book. This month, we are reading Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. Really excited about this. I think Whitson, you picked this one out. So I'm really excited about it. A couple quick announcements before we get into things. Our Patreon is live. If you don't want to wait for the episodes to be uploaded on the 1st, 15th, and 30th, you can go support our Patreon, and you will get early access to all of our episodes. We also have tons of bonus content on there. I think right now there's 11 bonus episodes out there. So you can get those. You can also get a special Discord role, and your Patreon names will be included at the end of the video. So if you like the podcast, we really would love it if you guys supported the Patreon. There's always our Discord. You should join that. Love growing the community. And with all that, we're going to jump into our fantasy question before we get into the prologue discussion of Rage of Dragons. So, Whitson, what's our fantasy question?
Which adventurer would you choose to leave at home from any story?
I've got my answer. I'll go first. So, I've talked about it in previous podcasts. I hate Lift. I think she's just a bad character. Like, I get it. A little life of the party. But I feel like it would just be a better story if she wasn't there. And so...
Okay.
See, this is when you change your answer to Renarin. Just to piss him off.
I don't like Lift. That's mine. I want her to stay home. Show me more Risen. I want to see more Risen.
See, I went a different way.
Oh, I'll go for it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I went a different way with Stormlight. I picked Moash.
Okay.
Like, he should have just stayed away and not done anything. We should have just left him back with the bridge, and it would have all been good.
I picked Matt from Wheel of Time. His grubby little fingers couldn't stay off the dagger and Shadar Logath, and it just spiraled out of control. He ruined everything.
Yeah.
You know,
actually ruined everything.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
It's
Not
book
really.
1.
It's in like the first 3 chapters or something where they go there. So, but yeah, you guys let us know what character you hate and want to leave at home in our comments. And also send us some fantasy questions that we can answer on the podcast. But with all that, I think we're going to go ahead and jump into episode 20. Is this 28?
28.
28 of The Tome Travelers.
I don't think we're incorporated.
You want to take the synopsis?
Yeah, so the Amehi, the chosen people of the goddess, have fled the Cull, which we don't really know anything about yet, and followed dragons to a new land with mysterious and powerful natives who are not very welcoming to them. Queen Taifa plans to use the power of dragons through something called a coterie to wipe out the hostile natives. Siori, her lover and war chief, perishes in a battle with them, like a final climactic battle, and then Taifa finally is able to call on the dragons and wipe them all, and kind of makes a funeral pyre of them, and gets swallowed up in her grief and rage. That's where we leave off.
Yeah.
So, what makes them the chosen people? Is that just a title they bestow on themselves?
Yeah, we don't really know that yet.
Yeah.
But the Ingonyama, the Innervators, forget the other jargon around it. I'm sure it'll make more sense soon. But EC Hogo, it seems like the magic users have to go to a spiritual plane.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it.
Yeah, she's really surprised to see one of the natives in the spiritual plane too.
Yeah.
But then she kind of just banishes him from it. Got a whole lot of effort, it seemed like.
Yeah. I'll say
Well, she killed him in it, didn't she?
She at least cut him off from it. I don't guess.
Yeah,
we know
it said that she cut him off or something. I'll at least I guess kind of start off with this was a crazy prologue. It literally just spawned us in, and we are just in the middle of a battle, and
Genocide?
Yeah, genuinely genocide and stuff. I liked how it was we don't know anything at all what's going on, but we're so like still enthralled by it. Like I like how she was talking about like if we use the dragons, we're gonna have to like who was it to come after them or whatever?
The cult.
The
The
coal,
thing that
yeah.
they were running from in the first place.
And it's like, yeah, so it's just really interesting. I have so many questions on like what's going on and stuff, but I really enjoyed just like we're starting off action in your face. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
I
that.
like being thrown in the deep end with lore and like jargon and magic systems and stuff. I want to just be like thrown into it and
Yeah.
let me figure it out.
Well, like I thought it was like really interesting that she's just like using these people as fuel and they're okay with it. Like she's
Yeah, it did
sacrificed.
seem like it said that she had to sacrifice Chosen, and
Yeah.
but it kind of
Like
glossed over
drains
it.
she drains the magic users. And that's why her
Oh,
lover
okay.
that's why her lover it says he like quit using his Hulk mode because he didn't want to risk the killing the magic user from
Yeah.
taking too much of their power. So it seems like they're almost like a battery.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is what it seems like. So the Ingonyama are like they're people, but they're also kind of golems, right?
Yeah.
Like magical
Yeah, they like
golems.
well,
Dude,
it seems
Um,
those are the ones that can like grow in size and strength
yeah,
and stuff, but they've
so
still got to have a battery, I guess.
this is
yeah.
this is just kind of like an interesting like just side point. It's probably coincidence, but it also could be intentional. Ingonyama is like in the Lion King. You know how it's like in the Circle of Life. The words are Ingonyama Nengwamabala. So it's
Well, it is African. It
Yeah,
is
this takes
Yeah.
inspired
place in
by
Africa, right?
African.
okay, cool. So it's
Well, I mean,
probably
like a fictionalized.
so it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
Swahili then. I didn't know. I
Let's
literally was
see.
reading that. I was like Ingonyama. What?
What does Ingonyama mean?
Yeah.
It's
so-
Zulu, and it means Zulu king.
Oh, it's Zulu King.
Huh.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Um, I didn't know if that had any sort of like representation as to like the namesake.
Also,
for...
lioness or lion.
I think it's very
Lion-hearted.
That's
cool.
probably like what it's leaning to
Yeah.
towards his line. I think it's very interesting to read a book from that like that area because there's not a whole lot of books that like take or fantasy books that I know of that take from African culture.
Yeah,
Right.
that
So
are
that was
heavily
one of the big
inspired.
reasons my choices for my next two books, and I'll go ahead and spoil this. We're reading Poppy War in March if things go according to plan. I wanted to read these two because they're not set in like European, like they're not Eurocentric. They're
Yeah.
set in
Yeah.
different cultures and different places, and I think it'll be really cool.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about both of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just finished sort of Kaigen, which is set in Japanese culture. So I really have been enjoying kind of just the break
Stepping
from like
away from the Eurocentric
Yeah, the Euro,
kind of
yeah.
view of things.
it's really it's so cool too because they take normal tropes and they make it fit within like this different culture and things like that. And I
Architect.
really
Mhm.
like that. Yeah. Different
Yeah,
atmosphere,
Jade,
different vibe.
Jade City is kind of the same thing. I think it's supposed to be
Oh, I tried to
Thai
read that
Thai
this week
culture.
actually. Yeah.
It's pretty good. I didn't get all the way through the first one, but not because it was bad. Just I just had other things going on.
So I think it would be better to read it. I didn't like the audiobook so much. I got a couple
Yeah, the
chapters
audiobook
in,
was
and
also kind
I
of
wasn't digging the audiobook.
No.
yeah.
So
I
I'm
think
probably gonna
physical
read the
copy
physical
on that one.
copy. Yeah.
It was still fun though.
Yeah.
But back to the book that we're
Yeah.
we're currently reading.
Sidetrack.
Yeah, I really like the freaking twist on it. It just feels different. Like it doesn't. It's not like I don't know. There are just so many tropes in the Eurocentric fantasy genre that appear in every single book,
And they
so
appear
this
the
is
same
this-
way, yeah.
Yeah, and they appear the same way. So this already feels fresh.
Yeah. Is this our first book with dragons?
It might
No.
be.
Is it?
I think it
Well, I
might
mean, we
be.
have the list right here.
Technically, we read Tress,
I don't see any. I don't see any dragons.
but not on.
But we didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
we didn't-
Emperor's Blades had dragon-like stuff going
Yeah,
on.
this is our
Giant,
yeah, that's
flying
crazy.
creatures.
It took us.
Yeah, dragons.
It
That's
took
the
us
first
what
one.
7, 8 books? Is this
A
the
whole
8th book?
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost a whole year.
To finally get to dragons, but
And I heard this is a really good, like, dragon book. Not that it's a. about
Yeah,
dragons,
I've heard it. I've heard really good things about this book, just
Well,
top to bottom.
it is called Rage of Dragons, so I
Dragons.
would
Yeah.
imagine it's
Well,
a good dragon
the
book.
rage seems to be like a thing,
Yeah, like a connection.
like proper noun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it
she's
seemed like it seems like the dragons don't like, it's not like a symbiotic relationship. Like it seems like they just have to use their power to like influence the dragons.
yeah.
mm,
Well, it said like she split her mind and like
yeah.
became and like saw through them, sensed through them. So I thought that was really cool that they just and it was because of her bloodline. I think that was the reasoning. The
Yeah.
queen's bloodline. I think that's so cool. If I had like actually read all of the Game of Thrones instead of just watched the TV show, it kind of reminds me of how like Daenerys Targaryen, like she can like dragons and her are tight. You know, she's the mother of dragons. So I'm interested to see how they twist that on this.
It gave me
What?
Name of the Wind vibes too, with the breaking of your mind into segments. I kind of hope they explore that a little bit further,
Yeah.
because that's one of the
Yeah.
cooler parts in Name of the Wind is like them explaining how they can split their mind. But
Yeah.
the magic system's already really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't
I
really. Oh, go for it.
Well, no, I was just gonna talk about. I read the prologue, and it was talking about how, or not the prologue,
The blurb.
Blurb.
blurb, and it was talking about how the different types of magic and stuff. But then it also, well, we can get into what it talks about as far as like what the book's actually going to be about, because this is the prologue. But I guess the actual book is 200 years after this.
Yeah.
Oh, 200
I looked
whole
at the next
years
page
after
and it
this.
said
Wow.
like 200 cycles after or 186 cycles later.
Yeah,
That was the
and
first line of
yeah,
the next chapter and I was like, "Oh,
yeah. I guess it's about some dude named Tao, and he gets betrayed somehow and decides to whoop some ass. But
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I
So
like,
didn't
this
think it was
is
going to
more
be
an
200
introduction.
years
Yeah.
later, because like at the end it mentions how it infers that the queen is pregnant with
Right. So
what's his
I
face.
thought that their child was going to be Tao. I thought
I
that their
thought
child was
that,
going to be the
yeah,
main
I
character.
thought it was
okay."
gonna be about the kid.
I went into this book blind. I opened up the book not knowing anything about it other than there was a dragon on the cover. So I was like,
Well, I've just heard lots of reviews of it. I mean, that's why I chose it, because it's got
yeah.
glowing reviews everywhere. But Tao is always mentioned, and then it's supposed to be like a revenge book. So I thought that their
Oh.
child was going to go get revenge because they were all wiped out, or because Siori died, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
That's an interesting choice. I mean, it's not like it's never happened before, I guess,
Yeah.
having like a prologue that is 200 years in the past, like even Way of Kings
Yeah, Way
did
of
it.
Kings did that with 2,000 years in the past.
Yeah, thousands of years in the past. But well, so what do we think is going to go on here? How do we think he's going to be? Do we think that the Chosen and the Omehi are going to settle in this place and like chill, and then the Cull is going to find them 186 cycles later, or
And what
Well,
exactly
the blurb says that they've been fighting the war with the savages for the all 200 years.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're still at war. The coal probably, I'm assuming the coal's gonna come up at some point.
what is the coal?
We don't know.
I don't know.
The way they refer to it makes it seem like it's sentient and that it senses
Right.
magic.
I was gonna say it's gonna have to be something scary, because I mean, if dragons and magic don't take care of it, then
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
be a
Well,
wolf
yeah,
boy.
yeah, like if it preys on dragons, it's like, well, what is this thing then? Um
Mm.
It's
It
just
could be a
my
force of
first
nature too.
yeah, that's true. My first thought, just because of the name Cole was Cthulhu, and I'm like, because again, I went into this book not knowing anything about it, and I was like, is this like Lovecraftian fantasy? Like, wait, what is this? But
Oh,
I don't
how's
think
it
that's the
spelled?
case.
Is it spelled like
Cull
or something?
No, just Cull.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Audiobook struggles. I never know how anything's spelled. So do we think that the queen and her bloodline are the only ones that can do this coterie thing? Because it took the Kayed, the like lead sorcerer, mage, whatever, and like 3 of his disciples to do the same thing that the queen did.
It might have something to do with like it has to be the bloodline of the queen or whatever. And maybe like this child that kind of like like we inferred that she was pregnant with, maybe because like it was illegitimate or something like that, it wasn't the king's or whatever, it went on its own and had a bloodline, and maybe that's who we're following. Maybe not like
Oh, that'd be interesting.
a direct descendant, but like a bastard descendant.
Yeah, 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 like illegitimate
Yeah,
great great great
illegitimate.
grandson.
Which maybe then there's going to be like conflict over who controls the dragons or who can. Maybe he has more power getting into them. I don't know. There could be like this whole like mind challenge of like when you split your mind, whose mind is more powerful, controls the dragon or what. I don't know. And
Oh, it seems like only women can call dragons.
oh,
That's what the blurb says. So the blurb says that one in every 2,000 women have the power to call down dragons, and one in every 100 men is able to like Hulk out.
okay,
Oh,
interesting.
okay. So maybe Tao is going to be like the bridge between or something, like can do both. Can
I'm
like
excited to see it though.
call on the power of the dragons and then use it himself instead of having to have somebody else with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
That'd be
Just
cool.
have to see.
I didn't know that there was a 200-year gap. That makes this makes it a lot harder to draw any conclusions.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Because
I
I
just
assumed
think
it
of
was
it
gonna be
as like
about the kid too.
yeah. I think like what they did is very similar to what Way of Kings does in the prologue, where it's like we're gonna show you the magic in action and how everything works, and now we're gonna get into our exposition starting chapter 1, where we like actually build this world out. But like we've already been introduced to many different things, like Ingonyama, the Innervators, the
Isihogo.
yeah Isihogo, chosen, gifted, all these different terms we at least have in our heads, and we have a mental image of what they can do or what they at least visually do. So
Yeah.
I think we have some great building blocks to like walk on.
Hmm. Yeah, it seems like it's cool that they use the same source of magic, but then have very different abilities, right? Because the
Yeah,
natives are like summoning people, they have magical camouflage, and then they have these magical beasts that are not dragons.
which those were
But
cool.
yeah, those were really cool. But they still have to go to Isihogo and like draw on the same energy. It seems like.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know. The 200-year gap makes it hard to really speculate too much.
yeah,
Well, are you guys excited? Like, have
I'm
you
really
enjoyed the
excited.
prologue?
Yeah, I enjoyed the prologue.
Like,
Seems like something a little different.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm especially excited. It's like we're finally reading dragons, like
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure our logo has like a little dragon flying around in the sky. It's like we've never even read a book with dragons.
Well, I mean, that's like your like typical like go-to
Yeah,
fantasy. Like you think dragons and
yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody got burnt out on dragons for a little while. Like they
oh, for
weren't
sure.
super prevalent in like the new
Just because they
fantasy
were in
coming out.
everything, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like you think
Well,
of
I think
like,
like post Aragon, like post
yeah.
Inheritance, it's like you didn't see dragons
Although
anywhere.
there's a resurgence now because there's a new Aragon book out. I don't know if y'all saw
I
that.
Yeah.
thought about rereading.
that
Yeah. Hey, that could be our next Patreon book.
would be
Let us know in the
fun.
comments actually if you're a Palini fan and you want to read the new book with us.
That would actually be so much fun. Um, but yeah, do you guys have
Yeah.
anything else you want to say about this?
No, I think that
Where
about
we
does it for the prologue, right?
Yep. Where were we reading to?
Through chapter 8, I think. So stop at chapter 9 through chapter 8. So that way you guys can read along with us and stop and listen to us babble about what we think is going on.
Mhm. And tell us who you'd leave at home on the
No,
adventure.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, do we want to do TBRs? Not really much has changed.
I got a big one.
Okay, go for it, Dylan.
I finished reading. I started and finished reading The Will of the Many this week. Really good, like really good. It. I will say it like in some points it felt like it was kind of draggy, but like it's just because it's really like it is very like politically intrigued.
I'm in.
Like like multiple so like he's got like you find this out in the beginning of the book, but so it's not a spoiler, but he's like the son he's a prince of a country that the hierarchy, which is like the ruling class, uh conquered, and he's been like hidden away, and he gets discovered by one of them because he's so smart, and uh, like gets introduced into a school and all that. So you got like kind of almost like Red Rising vibes, but the magic system reminds me exactly like Warbreaker Breath. It's called Will, and like you imbue things with will, and they take will from other people. So like the like the highest people have like 2,000 people that they got will from, and
Oh,
then
that's
like
cool.
the next people down it's like 1,000, and then like 500, and then 100, and then 50.
You're
That's
such
cool.
a fucking slut for these stories. I'm reading this blurb, and this is just Code Geass. This is just Code Geass.
I wouldn't say it's that, but no, it is really good though. The ending definitely it's got some mystery to it too. I
Yeah.
think the ending like really like showed that. So like I'm really like as soon as I finished it, I like looked up when the next book was gonna come out. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in May this year.
yeah, yeah, it did.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
well that it was I think it was a TikTok uh book for a while I think, and that's where I
Gotcha.
found it. But
Hmm.
I would suggest it for sure. It's by the same guy that wrote The Shadow of the Lost or What Was Lost or
What? Shadow of Gods?
No,
no, not
no,
Shadow
no.
of Gods. Like The
This
Shadow of the
is
Lost. Trying to
yeah, The Shadow of What Was Lost.
Yeah, The Shadow of What Was Lost. I bet you'd
Yeah,
recognize the front
the
cover,
cover, yeah.
MD. Yeah,
They're highly recommended. The
yeah,
Lysanias trilogy.
yep.
Yeah.
I would recommend it for you two, though. I think y'all would. Like I
Oh
said, it's
yeah,
very
I've
political,
seen that.
very politically intrigued. I think you would both enjoy it.
That sounds
Um,
good to
Hmm,
me.
that's cool. I did the for my TBR. I did the children's book that we bought for our nephew for Christmas last week. We actually did the pizza recipe. It is dead simple, impossible to screw up, and it made delicious pizza. Just yeah,
There
tiny
you
little
go.
update.
There you go. I think I'm gonna crack open the Well of Ascension tonight. I work 6 to midnight, so I think I'm gonna crack that open. Or
what
I
happened to
might
Malice, bro?
read
What happened to
this.
Malice?
I really want to get Cosmere aware by next year, like very quickly, and
Oh, because
so
you're so Cosmere unaware right now. Only ankle deep in the lore.
I
yeah,
really have to finish Mistborn too. Like
yeah,
it's one I've just got to sit down and like
yeah.
get done.
So
Well of Ascension's book 2, right?
yeah, it's book 2, and then Hero of Ages is book
Yeah,
3.
Hero of Ages is the one that I just couldn't get through.
I'm excited. I'm gonna see where my
Yeah,
little
I've heard Era 2 is even better.
yeah. Well,
I
I
heard
have
Era 2 is really good, and I'm excited for Era 3 because it's supposed to be in like space.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
dude, if you are excited for Era 3, and this is just a shout out to everyone, you need to read Secret Project
The
3,
Sunlit
which
Man.
is The Sunlit Man, because it is like sci-fi Cosmere. But what's interesting is it's Sigil in the future.
Hell yeah! I got my copy in. I got my Leatherbound Way of Kings, which it's at the
Yeah,
house, so I haven't even got to see it yet. But
dude, mine's on my bookshelf. I love it.
it's at the house back in Arkansas, waiting on me to open.
There
So.
you go. But as always, guys, we hope that you enjoyed. We ask that you share, like, subscribe, or follow on your preferred platform. Send it out to your friends, so that way they can read along too, or whatever. Join our Patreon. You can check out our bonus content there and get tons of perks and cool things. And follow our TikTok because we do like little book recaps when we finish stuff too. So,
And by we he means I need to.
yeah, Dylan needs to do that like yesterday.
Yesterday.
And our TikTok's at the Tome Travelers Pod. So you can check that out.
No the, just at
There's
Tome
no
Travelers
the
Pod.
at
I
Tome
don't think
Travelers
so.
Pod. Thank you.
Even easier.
This is why Whitson's like the manager. But we hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Peace.